What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right. We are all set. Little technical difficulties, so apologies if you're watching live for the delay. But what is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode number 526 of Underground Sports Philadelphia, presented by the city of Vineland. It's KB and Matt coming at you from Underground Studios. Got a lot to dive into. Sixers looking fantastic so far, up 2-0 against the Nets in the postseason. We'll talk some NBA playoffs. The Phillies win another series, but according to social media, the sky is still falling no matter what, even though it is only April 19th. We'll talk some Phils. We'll talk new Eagles signing. They signed another South Jersey native, along with a St. Joe's prep, shout out to Zoe, graduate. And, of course, we'll get into the Union and Survivor 44 at the end of the show for the true fans who want the Survivor 44 talk. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI, Twitch.tv/Underground Sports PHI is where you can watch us do the show live every Wednesday night. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Leave a 5-star review. It does go a long way for helping the show continue to grow, helps more people find the podcast, helps more people find Underground Sports Philadelphia, and we're just trying to continue growing this thing and take it to the next level. And be sure to subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of every podcast on our network, including this show twice a week. You get full video episodes, live streams, clips, interviews, all of that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. And make sure you guys go get your merch, phiapparel.co. They are the best in the game. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any and all orders. And, of course, this episode and all of our episodes presented by the City of Vineland. And the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. And through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. What's going on, Matt?
Living the dream.
The Philadelphia 76ers off to a flawless start to the postseason so far, up 2-0 against the Brooklyn Nets. And looking well on their way to hopefully continuing that in Brooklyn. 2 games on Thursday and Saturday. Hopefully going to wrap it up there, not have to come back home. But early takeaways, I think everybody realizes the Nets are not that complete of a team. Obviously, it's Mikal Bridges and then everybody else. But the Sixers taking care of business against the team that they should beat.
Yeah, I think when you consider that they're technically a 6 seed, but a lot of that was built on the roster that was rather than what it currently is. This team as constructed was actually a few games below 500, so it probably would have actually been a more play-in team than necessarily a 6 seed. But I think Monday's game was a little frustrating at times. I think it was definitely a slow start to the game for the Sixers, and that's because the Nets have had to get really creative defensively, double teaming Embiid a lot of switching, definitely very aggressive. And I think you saw that work to their detriment as the game went on. Though I think they really lost their legs a little bit in the second half. You saw them definitely the offense cooled off quite a bit for the Nets, and it already wasn't necessarily like a great offensive performance from them in the first half, and felt like they lost a little bit of that energy, even for a young team. It's a lot of work to ask to put in. And, I think it's sort of it's a Hail Mary play, but, it has been effective in some ways. I think Embiid was definitely forced into some bad situations at times. And he had a pretty bad turnover night on Monday. Harden did not look good at all Monday, which, this Brooklyn series, is going to be over with the Sixers advancing. I feel very confident about that. But, to me, this is just a good, teaser and an appetizer for what the Celtics series is going to look like. Because, you talk about a series that is absolutely dead in the water. I don't know that I've watched more than 2 minutes of the Celtics Hawks, and I don't think you need to see any more than that because it's just absolute bloodbath. But, I think Brooklyn is similar to the types of play styles and the types of attributes that their players have. A lot of wings that can definitely get at you defensively and get creative with things. And I think the Sixers have been good in some parts against that. Also, again, you see the James Harden performance, you see Embiid, a little flummox now. I don't know if the Celtics will necessarily do what the Nets have been doing this series, but I do think there's maybe some red flags there, because Harden, again, I think we've sort of memory hold it, but last year in the playoffs, definitely had a pretty bad time, and especially in really meaningful games. It's one game. I don't want to, draw the wrong conclusions from just one game, but, again, if this whole season for me has been about I can't let go of the past with this team, and, when I see moments like that, I can't help but think of the ways that this team has hurt me in the past, and that, it's almost hard to enjoy this series, where it's this is great. It's definitely conceivable that we sweep the Nets and, we're on to the second round. I should be excited about that, but I'm just thinking about every moment I'm thinking, well, the Celtics, I think, would really exploit that. I think the Celtics would really make us upset or really frustrate us with these looks. And that's where my focus has been at a lot this series.
Yeah. And even with Harden having the down game, last year, you didn't have anybody else outside of Embiid really able to step up in that situation. Second game of this series, Tyrese Maxey goes for 33. Tobias Harris has his best postseason game in recent memory across the board in a Sixers uniform. So, to have those other pieces around Embiid and around Harden when one of them is having a down game, Embiid didn't necessarily have the best offensive game. It did turn into, him having 20 points, but it was a much more defensive-minded game for Embiid in Game 2. I think to have those other pieces around you, which is what you want, and you saw it in Game 1, too, with P.J. Tucker stepping up as well, and then Paul Reed has just been fantastic.
Paul Reed had some bad moments. He had a really bad turnover in that game he had a really bad 2 minutes, and Embiid had to come back in. I don't even know if that was a planned return in Game 2. In Game 1, he definitely had some bright spots. I just... it's all good to say, Maxey with a great night, and, but, there's something about this team that I think the Celtics have continually given them problems, and I have a hard time moving past that. I just do. And until I see it, I won't stop thinking that way, because anytime this team has gotten into a hard series, they've lost. They have not beaten a great team in the playoffs, ever. It just has not happened. So, that's really frustrating me, and, I don't know if they have it. I really don't. I see Harden doing that shit, and we need him to be 20 and 10. We just he cannot have a game like that against the Celtics. He just can't. We can't afford that. Maxey's not going to be able to bail us out like that. I would like to see a little more aggressiveness from Embiid. I know it's this series, and maybe conserve your energy a little bit, but if you're going to be the MVP, I'd like you to there was times where he's matched up with Royce O'Neal. I'm you can eat this guy's lunch, and he's not. I don't know. I wonder if how much of that is Embiid, how much of that is what Doc is sort of instructing to do. But I'm happy that they're cutting through this series. That it's largely through 2 games, it's not giving them big issues. And that I just think it's so funny that them and the Celtics are just gonna blaze through this first round and. Just going to absolutely beat the hell out of each other with baseball bats in the next. And I think this to me, again, speaks to the fact that they have to take the regular season more seriously again next year, because having, the home court advantage, having that top seed is just so vital. And, just gives you it's such a world of difference when that you have that home court advantage and how important that can be. I hope next year, whatever happens this off season, because that's also looming, James and the Giant Peach, the storm on the horizon is that no clue what this team is going to look like next year. like it could look drastically different. So that's where my mind has been all season, has been like, what does this team do in the second round? And if they fail again, I don't know that I'm back next year. I really don't. I don't know that I can do it again. Like, I'm apprehensively watching and like hoping. But if they blow it again in the second round, I don't know that I have it left. I think I'm done.
You wouldn't be the only one, Matt, because there was the report last week that we talked about that there would be massive changes to the organization if the Sixers fail to not get past the second round. And I've heard some rumblings through the old grapevines. Shout out to the city of Vineland. It would more than likely mean, one, the obvious, Doc Rivers would be gone. But I was also made privy to at the live podcast with our boy Zoe and Seamus Clancy that I want you to go back to that ever-famous photo of Joel Embiid and Daryl Morey playing tennis.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently that day was the day that Daryl convinced Joel to stay, because apparently a quiet trade request was made. That was like the day that
I have felt for a while that I think people have, like, I don't know if I said this on here maybe a week or two, but I felt like everyone's talking about Harden leaving. I was like, I could see Embiid being like, I fucking won an MVP. I should have won MVP last year. Back-to-back scoring titles. I'm a dominant player. And I got stuck with Max Tobias Harris, Max Ben Simmons, and washed James Harden, like, in my prime. Like, I want to go somewhere where I can win. Like, people like convince themselves that every other star is going to leave their team, but like no one ever thinks that their star is going to leave their team. I don't know that he does, but if this team loses in the second round, like say we're talking about a completely different team than the Sixers. If you just replicate our situation and put it in some other team, we would absolutely be speculating that star player could be agitating for a move this summer, because it happens every 4 months. There is an NBA superstar that does not want to be on their team anymore and wants to go somewhere else. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that could be the case. I don't want to be too doom and gloom, like, because again, like, making the playoffs perennially is like cool, and I'm happy, but it's just the manner and the way that we've lost over the years. Some have been like rip your heart out losses. Some of them have been so meek and cowardly, and I think that those are the ones that hurt me the most. Because the Toronto series is the only one that I think I'll look back and be like, well, like, you gave it everything, and like that it just goes wrong sometimes. So many of the other series like have just been embarrassing, and it's like I haven't even watched the final games. So like, why am I even doing this to myself? Like,
plus they're on at 10 o'clock at night.
That is also the tough part. Yeah, I'm glad for that, at least, that we're getting the 7:30 time slots. But I can't help but feel like the impending doom of this Celtics series. I mean, they have a lot on the line too. Like, they have just as much underlying dysfunction as we do. Like, it shouldn't act like the Celtics are like the 2016 Warriors or 2017 Warriors, right? Like, where they're just buzzsaw. But they are definitely a bad matchup for the Sixers, and they've shown that time and again. Can the Sixers beat the Celtics in a series? Yes. Do I feel like confident about that? No. Like, they are capable of doing it, but again, like, this is just the history that we have with this team. I like, Brooklyn has been, again, I think a pretty decent warm-up. I hope that they can take some things from this series, because I wouldn't be surprised if you get similar types of things. Like, we definitely need a little more consistency from the role guys. Like, I'd like to see PJ Tucker hitting some shots. He's had some good moments, and I think defensively too, like, especially his like effort has been very good. Melton, I thought, has looked really good. I think like in terms of, again, like a rotational guy that's giving you some good stuff. I liked what I've seen out of him. He did have a really good Maxey game too, which is important, because not just for this series and the next series, but again, Maxey is going to be a player that we're going to continue to rely on in the future. Like, if you're talking about like what the next phase of the Sixers looks like, Tyrese Maxey, I think, is a part of that. So that is at least a good thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I think we say this every year. There's that one game in that opening round for the Sixers that always like makes you want to just scream, pull your hair out. So far, it feels like that was game 2. We'll see, obviously, what happens with game 3 and 4, but hopefully you get, more on the side of a game 1 performance from this team, because at least in that game too, they showed that like they were able to make adjustments at halftime, which has been something you and I have harped on about this team time and time again in the regular season and throughout, just Doc's tenure of not being able to adjust and make adjustments on the fly. They were able to do that and kind of, put a stop to Mikal Bridges just going absolutely nuclear on them. But that's the type of game plan you have to have against this team. You are a much better team than them, and you just have to show that, they truly the Nets don't belong in the playoffs.
Well, Doc Rivers told them to come on, guys, and I think that really motivated them to go on. I think we should propose that we just don't do the coach cutaway for like 11 seconds anymore, where they say something very generic that they just cut out because that's all they're allowed to show. Does that bring anything to the viewing experience when we gotta rebound and we got first to the ball and we gotta hit our shots? Like, is that like at least the halftime ones where they catch them as they're walking in and they're like, Christ, I gotta talk to this person. You get like something out of them, but even that is still like, yeah, we just gotta play better defense. Like, do we have to do the cutaways to them coaching in the huddle? It is like not interesting.
Just drawing lines and X's and O's on a dry erase board.
It's just the most useless stuff. Yeah, I mean, the looks that the Sixers have been getting in these two games too, like, have been really good. Like, I think they were, I think they got a little unlucky in game 2 that some of the shots, like, I think they had like 19% of their attempts were from corner threes, which are obviously like the kind of shots you want to be getting. And they just didn't fall maybe the way that you'd want them to. Definitely ran away with it in game 1 offensively, but you're gonna have some bad performances every now and again, and you hope you limit as few of them as possible in the playoffs. So, like I said, I think the Nets have been a good test for them. I think game 2 had the potential to be like the hair pulling game based on that first half. But I did like the energy that came out with in the second half. Like, that was good. I think you did see a good response out of them. And if it continued in the first half vein, I think we would really been having a much more angry conversation. But I did like, especially Embiid's. I don't need too down on Embiid in his performance in the series, but I did not like what I saw at him in the first half in that game, and I thought I was like, what is happening here? He just seems so passive and not impactful in the way that we've come to see him. And the second half was a lot better, but it's all about the second round. This is, and I think both the Boston and Philly are just like, yeah, we like they're just cruising past their first round opponents, and it just doesn't matter. And really, that's how the entire East feels, honestly, except for Cleveland and New York. Feels like every series, and we'll see what happens with the Bucks Heat, obviously, but I mean, I've just seen this story way too many times from the Bucks, where they lose game 1 and everyone pretends like they're going to lose the series, and then they gentleman sweep. They've done it to the Heat. Like, I don't know. I don't feel strongly that that's going to be much of an issue. The East just feels like, yeah, just get us to the second round, mostly for Boston, Philly. I don't know that, like,
outside of like Cavs Knicks, I feel like that series.
Yeah, Cavs Knicks is the only one that I think has any intrigue whatsoever, and that has like potential to go like 6 or 7, and is like actually exciting. I think like Bucks Heat can provide you some moments, but I don't think that's like a game of with a ton of like stakes on it. But yeah, I think Boston Philly has the potential to be like the best, or like at least like the second best, depending on what happens in the West, like second round series. Like that is a series I think that is deserving of even being like a conference finals type of series. So
I also find it very hilarious that like we've been on it since the moment he became a Sixer. The national media, the national landscape of podcasts and everything are now just discovering Paul Reed and the B-Ball Paul moniker, and like finding the old tweets that all of us found 2 years ago about Paul Reed. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah, welcome to Get It Out the Mud, out of the soil. I've liked that we've seen a little bit of Paul Reed in these playoffs. I think his decision making could improve. That is all. I love Paul Reed. Great story, good player, but
I do think at least like when he is out there, like, yes, there's been decisions where you're like, what the fuck are you doing, Paul? But it's also like at least he's giving it 110% while he's out there, which is like not the norm for any backup big Embiid has ever had in the playoffs.
Yeah, I will say Drummond, I think, was Drummond was a good guy. Like,
But we didn't have him in the playoffs.
we didn't have him in the playoffs,
which is unfortunate.
But like I'm just projecting.
Yeah,
what
he
have
was
been-
the best.
Yeah, but listen, I like Paul Reed. I think sometimes people go a little overboard with like. I think people really project what they want him to be
Mhm.
onto him, and like he is not like a perfect player. Like, I mean, no role rotational player is, but I feel like sometimes people get a little carried away. People buy into the get it out the mud brand a little too much, and I love it, and I love him, but I just think sometimes people blur the line between like his persona and like because he has this kind of cool persona and he
Mhm.
has the get out the mud thing, like that's fun, we get it, like it's a nice bit. I feel like sometimes that's like something that like a star player would kind of have, and I feel like people get blinded by that.
At least it's not Greg Monroe.
Yeah, it's not Greg Monroe.
It's not Greg Monroe. It's not it's not Boban. As much as we loved Boban, personality wise, he was a liability on the court. But I mean, around the NBA will go, and it's brought to you by our friends over at Wasted Wedge, which Sixers in Game 2 almost had us breaking out the Wasted Wedge with how we were feeling until those halftime adjustments. But a new age of golf has arrived, and if you're looking to be the talk and envy of your group and create memories with your friends and family, look no further than the lineup of Wasted Wedge products and merchandise. The Wasted Wedges are a blast to drink shots out of on and off the course. You guys can check them out at wastedwedge.com or find them at Wasted Wedge on Instagram and Facebook. They've got tons of Wasted Wedge products. They've got attachments that you can put on to make them longer. They're an absolute blast for, party occasions, bachelor parties, college graduation parties right around the corner. Wasted Wedge is going to make you the talk of the event. So remember the name Wasted Wedge and go to wastedwedge.com to check out all of their products. And, of course, do it responsibly. But, Matt, around the NBA, like you said, the East outside of Knicks Cavs kind of seems like a foregone conclusion. Obviously, Giannis gets injured in that Game 1 against the Heat. So we'll see, how much that impacts him going down the stretch against the Heat and then further along in the playoffs. But it doesn't seem like it's too serious, but you never know with somebody of Giannis's size and how it's going to affect his mobility and everything with it being a back issue. And then the West just seems like it's going to be a bloodbath.
The West is outside of Timberwolves and Denver, I think.
Didn't even know that series was happening, honestly.
Well, because, and because it happened at like 10:30
Yep.
For some reason. And it's like, I don't see that as being a very competitive series based on Game 1 at least.
Charles Barkley's on our side, though, Matt. He said, this game didn't have to start at 10:30.
Yeah, thank you, Charles.
He said, these kids got to go to school tomorrow.
I get when the California, like West Coast teams, it makes sense. Why is Denver and Minnesota starting at 10:30? Like, why?
On a Sunday.
Why? Why is that happening?
The game was played on a Sunday. That could have easily been, you want to make it at worst 8 o'clock.
8:30, fine. At least let me watch the first half.
Because then it's, 6:30 out there. You're good to go.
It's just too much. I'd like to watch more of the Clippers-Suns series. That's been a hard one to watch.
The most I've seen from that was Russell Westbrook almost getting into a nice little altercation with a fan.
Which seems like as it is. Yeah, Lakers, Grizzlies, a lot of fun. I think the tough thing is you've had some injuries like John Morant with his hand injury. Giannis, it seems like he's going to be fine.
Tyler Hero's out.
All the superstars of the league, John Morant, Giannis, Tyler Hero.
One of these things is not like the other.
So, no Morant tonight for the Grizz, which sucks. But they've actually played really well without him.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows? But you're getting a little bit that Lakers poison. If you can explain to me why the Heat and Bucks are starting at 9 o'clock,
Milwaukee,
if someone can tell me why that's happening.
We'll send you merch.
Do 8. Why do they do 9 o'clock? What hope do I have to watch that?
Especially when not
Honestly.
every team is playing tonight.
Like, what?
There's 4 games tonight?
There's 3. It is the
even
Lakers
worse.
and Grizz, which just started, which makes no sense because you'd think the West Coast team should be like it has a West Coast audience, like one of the biggest sports franchises in North America is the LA Lakers. You'd think they would want them, instead of starting at 7:30, to start at, say, at 9
And it's
o'clock.
a Central Time tip because they're in Memphis, so
That's an 8 o'clock tip, right?
Yep.
There, and then that's what 6 o'clock on the West Coast. People are home from work, Like, all I'm hearing about ever is that we can't have these tip-offs at 7:30 because
can't affect the West Coast.
The West Coast, the 2 million people that live. I'm kidding, but
well,
I'm not kidding. But like, we can't have it because the West Coast people are on their way home from work because you got 7 hours of traffic gridlock. Like, that's my fault.
we got to make sure that the Oakland A's Possum gets to tune in to the Lakers and Grizzlies game.
Well, that is very important to me. But like, you tell me that can't be that. Why is that not the? Now I'm mad. Why is that not the 9 o'clock tip? And why are the Heat and Bucks not tipping off at 7:30 or 8 o'clock? You can make it 8 o'clock.
Right.
I just don't understand these.
And with the
decisions, man.
lack of, like, gridlock of all the games happening too, like 3 games, that is ridiculous.
I don't get it. I don't know if this is my old man yells at a cloud moment, but and on Sunday too, they had the game started like so late. Like, I don't understand it.
At least Charles is on our side.
You know what? I've loved to stand in solidarity with Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley, one of us. But I mean, I think outside of the Sixers, the most fun team to kind of back is Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, like the beam, baby.
Like the beam.
Yeah, they that's been a really fun series. Hard to not feel some sort of emotion for like the Kings fans. They've obviously had a hard time. I get a lot of, not that our drought was similar, but I was watching highlights, of course, of Game 1. Was not watching it live because I didn't feel like staying up till 2 a.m. But the atmosphere reminded me very much, because someone posted in the lead up to the playoffs the first playoff game against the Heat, and the kind of the atmosphere in the arena, and it was like very electric. And that's another thing I think you kind of lose that over time too. Like, I don't know that the crowd helped all that much on Monday night. It did not seem like a lively bunch. I mean, admittedly, the game was not great either.
Yeah.
There was not a lot to cheer for, but let's maybe stomp our feet, for our
Clap your
76ers,
hands.
maybe follow the instructions. But it was a really cool crowd, and it seemed like everyone was really, really engaged, and that's a cool thing. Like, it's nice to see fans that have not gotten that experience. I think that reminds you too, like, as doom and gloom as I'm going to be about us losing to the Celtics in 6 in the second round, like that is like a cool moment. Is like when having a team in the playoffs again and again is like fun, even though you keep going in the meat grinder. It is like fun, and it is an experience that I would be missing if we were not in the playoffs. Like how we had with the Phillies, like
100%.
out in the wilderness for 10 years, then you get back and it's like, yeah, this is great.
And I brought this up on Monday's episode too, because everybody's obviously talking about like I mentioned, the Oakland A's Possum and that stadium and relocating the A's. Instead of this whole, continuing this Vegas trend and moving teams there, move the A's to Sacramento.
I don't know if that would work, but I don't get the Vegas vibe, because I've never thought of Vegas as like a city with like a lot of.
It's very DC like.
Yeah, it's like just a tourist city. It's
Yeah.
not. Like, so much of Las Vegas is built around like people visiting. It's like, it's similar to Orlando, where like it's just like everyone that lives there works in the city for like hospitality in some form, or at some entertainment like thing. Like, nothing about Las Vegas feels organic. I mean, it was literally just built out of like the sand, so like of course not. But I don't. It just feels kind of like
And it feels like everybody's moved there like too quickly.
Yeah, it feels like all this. Like, first of all, it feels very taboo, because our entire life sports betting was like illegal, and it's like we could never have a team in Vegas because of the betting. And now it's like tonight's game is brought to you by DraftKings FanDuel Roblox. Like,
Connor McDavid was literally just in a BetMGM commercial. I was like, "You're an active player.
Is this allowed?" I don't know anymore. So yeah, the Vegas stuff has been quick, and I'm kind of tired of like. I'm sorry. Like, are there that many bachelor parties?
Right. And I look at like saying move the A's to Sacramento in the light of like, oh, they moved the 49ers stadium from San Francisco to Santa Clara, which is like 4.5-5 hours away. At least moving the A's to Sacramento, if it was able to be done, it's only like an hour and a half. So it's still relatively close for like the fans to go to, where like if you're jumping states, like how many people that are Oakland A's fans are going to, want to willingly, let's go to the A's game tonight and travel all the way to Vegas to do it.
Vegas is like such a BS place too, because like all these crappy owners are just gonna be like, well, like it's just exhausting. Like it's just these billionaires. They're just I'm so sick of them.
It was like the Vegas Golden Knights was cool. The way that they, brought them in,
Couldn't
fine.
care less.
But
could not.
Then it was
less.
like, we got to move the Raiders to
Couldn't
Vegas
care
now.
less about the Raiders.
And it's like, okay,
congrats. Half of your home games are away games now.
I was like, I'm
Good
done.
for you.
I'm done with the Vegas over. It's just overdone. But everything else in the NBA playoffs seems to be quite entertaining. We've obviously had a lot of storylines with Embiid saying he doesn't remember getting dunked on. Draymond Green is now suspended for literally just like jumping on Domantas Sabonis. Russell Westbrook almost getting into a fight with a fan, and it is the NBA could truly be just a soap opera.
I mean, it practically is. If you listen to the way some people talk about the NBA, it is all gossip. It is all dudes that don't understand why. And this is their words, not mine. I'm not. But why like girls watch like the Kardashians and like reality. They're like, this is so stupid. Or they talk and then they plug their brains into JJ Redick talking about like hot takes in the morning and watch Shannon and Skip and like hang on every word that Kendrick Perkins says. Like, yeah, okay.
They're
like,
the
those
ones.
are the things. It's so funny because everyone's always like, I clickbait and all this stuff, and it's like, you're talking about it, and you always talk about it, which is why this stuff exists. This stuff would not exist. We live in a algorithm-based world for entertainment. If people did not talk about it so much, it would not be popular and it wouldn't exist. So,
They're the ones that Grizzlies Lakers is having. Oh, we need Unk on the sidelines every game. We need him there every game to stir up the Grizzlies and everything. Like that's what people are tweeting about.
And you know what? If that's what you get the joy out of, fine. But just don't be weird about other people's joy either, Because it is those same exact people.
It's ridiculous. And yeah, I think there's been 2 series so far that have just been like, you don't even realize they're going on. We met Nuggets Wolves just doesn't feel like it's actually real. And then the Celtics Hawks series. Like I saw that there was a final score for game 2 from that the other night, and I was like, I didn't even know they were playing tonight.
And you know what? I don't think the Hawks got the memo either.
So hopefully the Sixers keep it pushing on Thursday, go up 3-0, and then seal the deal on Friday. We talked about this on Sunday, too. You see Kate Scott, the post on Sixers Reddit. She ran down from where they broadcast the game, hyped the crowd up, took somebody's beer out of their hand, took a big old swig of it, and ran back up to do the broadcast.
And people said she would not ingratiate herself, and good for her.
People's champ.
I would start doing that. What are you going to do?
Nothing. But we'll go from the hardwood to the baseball diamond. It's brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, which if you guys second round, if you're going to the Wells Fargo Center, you can get Big Kenny's at the Wells Fargo Center. It's a refreshing light beer, 4.1% ABV, 127 calories, 10 grams of carbs. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who has Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You can buy it at your local Philadelphia area liquor store, or if you're in Eastern Pennsylvania, your local Whole Foods. Light body, light calories, plenty of flavor. The best light beer on the planet. Must be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Matt, the Phils, they win another series, but it seems like nobody cares because they're still under 500. And heaven forbid that they're 7 games behind the Braves on April 19th.
I mean, I think heaven would forbid that. Yeah, it's it's nice to put together another series win. I think that's important, and I think you come home now and have a pretty good stretch. So they have the ability to make up some ground and start putting some wins back together. Great Alvarado day today. He's looked good to start this season. I think actually the relief pitching was largely gotten like some good moments so far this year. I felt pretty good about that. Stott loses the hitting streak yesterday during the doubleheader. Which was a bummer,
Sets the record, though.
Yeah, but, it would have been nice to see, because it would have been cool to see him kind of, like, continue that on. And I think it speaks a lot, though, to the fact, like, he's been a big storyline to start the season, and I think that's a big moment for him, and he's definitely taken his game up a level, and I think it's easy to forget that last year he was good also as a rookie, and that's
it's one of those things where it's like it's a what if, it wasn't a doubleheader. Like, does that happen?
By the way, did it have to be? I feel like sometimes these games, it's so weird because in the summer it'll be like downpouring, like no, we're playing, and then like I feel like in the spring they're way more prone to like not play games than they are. Like summer they're willing to push through. Like
apparently it was like a snow warning in Chicago.
Come
but
on, Christ,
grow up.
I'm also saying this as someone that had Ohtani pitching yesterday, and there was a rain delay.
Yeah,
and I got 2 innings out of Ohtani. So thanks, Boston. But I like what I've seen of the Phillies so far. Like I think especially the last that Reds loss, notwithstanding, because that was embarrassing. There have been some embarrassing losses to start the year. That's definitely not something you enjoy. But I think outside of that, I felt good about where they're at. And, you see Trey come alive today a little bit, gets the home run, and, I think he needs that for just a little boost. He's been good to start the season, but I think, start to get some power behind him. I think, again, everything we say and think about the Phillies has to be with the context that they are just missing guys, and they're going to be missing for a while, and this team is going to have to, do more than just tread water in that time. But, that this team is going to look different in August.
Yeah, they're going to look different in June.
Right.
And I mean, you got to look at it from a simple standpoint too. Like, we haven't had a Ranger Suarez start yet this year.
Yeah, he had a simulated game today or yesterday.
Yeah, with Bryce
and Pache. So we'll see. It
says a lot that Christian Pache has to play in a simulated game.
Well,
I digress.
The Bat Boys are busy.
Brandon Marsh also going yard today. He has been as advertised in what Dave Dombrowski said last year when you traded for him to be like,
No, Kyle. Logan O'Hoppe is so good, even though he's not even the starting catcher for the Angels. You're just doing it.
Should be.
But, if I have to hear about Logan O'Hoppe one more goddamn time, like he was ever going to play here. Like he was ever going to play here.
He was blocked by JT. I'm happy he's finding success.
Good for him, but I swear
he was
to
never
God,
going to play here.
If I hear his name one more time, is like, I can't believe we got rid of this guy. It's like, yeah, we got Brandon Marsh, who fulfilled a much more important need.
And I mean,
we did not need a backup catcher.
A backup catcher. Because Garrett Stubbs is signed through for the next 4 years.
As good as he has been, is like bottom 5 in defensive metrics.
Yeah.
Has not been good defensively. I'm sorry.
It's not that hard to realize.
I'm sorry you had a home run and it hurt your feelings.
Like, he was blocked by JT, and Garrett Stubbs is signed through, like, the next 4 years. So he was never going to play here. But Brandon Marsh, like, when we traded for him, Dave Dombrowski said he's got the potential to be a perennial Gold Glove center fielder, and we feel like we can fix the minor things that are wrong with his swing right now. He's been one of the best hitters in baseball this year.
Yeah, he's looked good. Really, and it's like we've talked about. The young guys have really come out this season, and this is what we needed. I think he definitely, when you were putting on the wish list for this year, I think like the young guys kind of taking a step up was definitely on everyone's mind, and I'm glad. And again, when you consider the circumstances too, that you're missing Harper and Hoskins, like there was definitely a load to be carried, and they have done that like to an extreme. They're not going to, Stott is not going to be hitting like this all season long. Like, I think that's the other important thing to remember too, is that they are still young, and that just like in every sport, young players are going to have ebbs and flows. Like they're going to have hot starts like this. They're going to have at some point a week and a half stretch where they look like dog shit. And I think you have to give them the same support through those times too, because they're not going to be. They're not going to be hitting like this.
And the Braves are not going to be on a 126 win pace.
Well, let's not. Okay, they're not going to be on 126, but is it crazy to think the Braves aren't going to be like 107?
They could.
But
I don't think they're not going to only lose 30 games this year.
I'm not writing off the division, but I'm writing off the division already. I'm just going to say that. I don't foresee us winning the division. And we are a wild card team. That's fine.
Like we said, get in the dance.
Get in the dance. But I think it's fair to say 7 games back of the Braves is like, well, and I don't. It's so weird because in years past, it feels like the first month and a half all we face is NL East teams, and we don't play another NL East series for another 3 weeks, I think.
It changed this year when they made the schedule more interleague games across the board for every team, so you almost pretty much play everybody, which is why we've played 3 series already against AL teams. But I mean, it makes those NL East games that much more valuable,
right?
And, more important to win those ones more than anything. So we'll see what happens with that. But I mean, the Phillies have won 3 out of their last 4 now, and probably end up losing that other game because it was a doubleheader and Lucas Giolito was just on fire. But they didn't get no hit. I was having flashbacks.
Just the second time this season we've
would have been the 3rd time in a calendar year. Oh man. But let's take it to the NL East run differential. It's brought to you by our merch partners, PHI Apparel Company, the best in the game. And they provide unique designs and high-quality clothing for the great fans of Philadelphia and Underground Sports Philadelphia's podcast network with their original designs for all. There's no doubt you guys will stand out in the crowd at Citizens Bank Park, the Wells Fargo Center, Subaru Park, wherever you may be catching the games. You're going to stand out in your merch from PHI Apparel Company. Our listeners can use promo code UNDERGROUND for 10% off any apparel when you shop online at phiapparel.co. That's phiapparel.co. Use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your order. NL East looking like this right now, run differential-wise, Matt. Philly slowly getting back closer and closer to the positive realm. But it's the Atlanta Braves at plus 32. That's a telling sign for me, too. Like, the Braves are 14-5 right now, but their run differential is only a plus 32. That just tells me they're winning close games, and they've played a ton of road games, and they're just 10-2 on the road so far this year. But they are at a plus 32. The New York Mets at 12-7, record-wise at a plus 11, run differential-wise. Miami Marlins are 10-9. They're at a negative 26. Phillies at 8-11. They're at a negative 13.
We're making our way.
Slowly making our way.
Surely and slowly.
Slowly recovering from that Texas Rangers and Cincinnati Reds debacle
that we've got this year. Jesus Christ.
And then the stolen franchise, Washington Nationals, sitting at 5-12 with a negative 21 run differential.
Good for them.
I don't know what says more, the Nationals' record being what it is, or the Marlins being above 500 and a negative 26.
That is Marlins behavior.
That is just typical Marlins fashion of run differentials there. Best run differential, though, in the National League, oddly enough, the Chicago Cubs, who are off to a great start this year at 11-6. They're in second place in the NL Central. They're at a plus 39 run differential. And then the overall lead in Major League Baseball is those Tampa Bay Rays at a plus 83. And then the Oakland A's with the league worst, negative 86.
Yikes. That gets a big yikes out of me.
Also, your take on the Oakland Coliseum Possum. Just running rampant and preventing opposing broadcast crews.
Well, here's the thing. Possum are they can't get rabies because their internal temperature is so high that the virus can't thrive. So they're actually like one of the more safe wild animals you can be around, and they eat like the bad stuff that you don't want around, like all the bad insects. So like I'll say this, as far as like animals that you could have around your stadium, like a possum is like pretty, you could do a lot worse. Like there have been worse animals in sports history to maybe have around. I personally like it. I am pro animals in a stadium. I think it's always a fun little gag. It's a fun little giveaway. There was the black cat in the Giant Stadium a few years ago. It's always fun.
That damn rally squirrel.
The rally squirrel, which I wasn't going to bring up. But wasn't there a duck in the playoffs last year?
It was a goose.
Goose.
In the Padres Dodgers series.
Right. Well, we all saw that one for them.
That's what's in.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I hope the Possum is okay.
Yeah, they said they had to move the broadcast crew because it's effectively turned into, the Possum using the bathroom too much in the booth.
I mean, that's just...
And the opponent broadcast crews are positioned in a booth where there's a pole just right in their view of the game. Wow. That's Oakland, baby.
Well, that's good. That is good.
Oh, it's fantastic. But the Phillies upcoming, now that they're done in Chicago, they get to come back home. Some more home cooking, which is, I think, a positive for this team in particular. I think they are a better team at home. And now that they've kind of gotten their legs under them a little bit more this season, it'll be beneficial for them. 4 games at home against the currently 5-14 Colorado Rockies.
Nice.
Which probably means we'll split.
Yep. That sounds like a sweep. I think the Rockies are they're gettable. And maybe, chance to do a little scouting, maybe.
CJ Crone, how you doing?
How you doing?
But yeah, it's 7-game homestand, 4 at home starting on Thursday against the Rockies, and then off day Monday, and then 3 games against the Mariners, which will be a fun series. Before you
go
get
JP homecoming,
JP, and then 3 games on the road to end the month in a World Series rematch against the just so everybody knows, the currently 8-10 World Series champion Houston Astros.
Well, I think the sky's falling. Sky's falling.
Astros, they're doomed. They're done. And then you also continue that road trip after Houston to start May.
Yeah, if you're interested in learning more, look up Houston trash. Houston Astros trash.
Bang 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 bang.
Look that up. That's pretty interesting
Did
stuff.
Did you see Evan Gaddis's just spilling of everything?
Oh, his
on
drunk
Twitter?
tweets. Yeah, I did. I did see him off the goose a little at 1 a.m. on Twitter.
That was unbelievable.
My friend, you need to put away the phone.
Good grief.
Someone.
Evan, your former interjanitor.
I think that's why Carlos Correa was having those back spasms last week. He felt it. He's like, oh shit.
Jose Altuve just gets an internal alarm. It's just a buzz.
Bregman was just awakened in the middle of the night like Jason Bourne, like fucking sleeper cell.
It's like the Dwayne Wade Gatorade commercial, just waking up in a cold sweat.
Yeah, he's dead now. I think they killed him.
The month of May though starts 3 on the road against the Dodgers before you come home for 5 at home against the Red Sox in a weekend series, and then 2 against the Toronto Blue Jays. So pretty interesting schedule for the remaining of April, and then going into May, a little bit tougher competition. But I mean, Dodgers a little bit down right now. They're 9-10, which was kind of expected. They lost a lot, and they didn't do much to supplant losing.
Well,
those.
Todd Bowley's got a lot of money tied up in some other ventures. So
yeah.
He's got a lot going on. He's getting yelled at fans in stadiums. By the way, we need to bring that here. We need to start screaming at some of these people. Tell you that much. These people are leaning over stanchions to yell at the guy, and he's been there for like 4 months and spent like $500 million, and that's the treatment he's getting. And you got people like the Athletics have created a wildlife sanctuary in the stadium. And like 10 people are like, well, the tickets are cheap. It's $4 to go to a game. Isn't that nice? God.
Yeah, they're probably yelling at him because they know that he's got money away in some sort of offshore bank for Shohei Ohtani next year.
Well, don't we all?
From the baseball diamond, though, Matt, to the pitch, the Philadelphia Union. Gotta talk about rematches.
Through to the CONCACAF Champions League semis, playing LAFC. I think it's the worst matchup because
hello, darkness, my old friend.
I feel like this team and this fan base has just mentally not gotten over that final, and I don't blame them because it was one of the biggest collapses I've ever seen. So, don't love it because of the I just think a tie like that is just a little too much emotion in it, and I don't know if this team is in a place where they can handle that emotion well because they've had a kind of rocky start to the league campaign. He had a nice comeback the other night in the league, though.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you saw these brief – there's maybe 20, 30 minutes where you saw kind of the Union that we were expecting to get and that we saw in the summer, which is why I'm not hitting alarm bells yet on it because we keep seeing these glimpses, and I think we'll get there. I think it's fair to question maybe some rotation. We've been rotating in the league a lot, and I was surprised to see the lineup that we did over the weekend, considering that we had a midweek game. That seems like the right opportunity to maybe, shuffle it around a little bit. But I think it's hard when you have like such importance now placed on the league games too. Like it's a hard thing to manage when you have multiple games to kind of be preparing for, and it can be a struggle. And I think you're seeing a little bit about that with the Union this year, but we'll see. I'm not looking forward to an LAFC matchup. Not looking for the fact that that's going to be a 10:00 start, by the way. So that's good.
Yeah. But bright side, Matt, on this rematch, there's no Gareth Bale to ruin our lives.
There is no Gareth Bale. May he rest in peace. He has ruined my life in so many ways that I just can't even begin to unpack here. But yeah, at least we no longer have Gareth Bale to worry about.
Home against Toronto though this weekend to hopefully get off the snide in just MLS play. Toronto's one spot ahead of the Union in the standings right now, so hopefully you can kind of right some wrongs there before big-time matchups against LAFC on Wednesday, April 26th, and then the second leg is Tuesday, May 2nd.
Yeah, and it's I think it's a big opportunity. I mean, to get to a Champions League final is a huge deal, and so they should be putting a lot of energy and focus into that. I don't like that that's the matchup. I think it would have been worse if we ended up making to the final. It's LAFC guy. I think that's the only way it gets worse. But yeah, I think there's just a little element of this team maybe not having totally gotten over that loss still.
If they are able to advance, is there a matchup that favors the Union in your opinion with the other two teams remaining?
Not particularly. I think again, like also like a one-off in a final is like matchups kind of it's the same as like when you have like a big rivalry match where it doesn't matter like, and this happens a lot in the sport too, where it's like it doesn't like they have this saying like form goes out the window in games like that where it's like it doesn't matter how good you've been that season, just you often get brought down to each other's level, and especially in a final, it's very often not a very like open game. It's usually something that is a little more cagey. So I don't know that there's something that really favors them. I think you could say one way or the other, like, but Tigres are like a very like established team, and I think are probably one of the better teams remaining. Of course, they're in the Final Four, but that would be I think probably the toughest matchup, in my opinion.
It is saying here that I'm looking at there's 2 legs for the finals. I don't know if that's accurate or not.
I have no clue that is correct.
It says May 31st and then June 4th.
Perhaps, I don't know. I always thought it was one game.
Yeah, I figured for a final it'd be one and done, but
I'm not sure
who's
about
to
that.
say. But yeah, hopefully Union get back on track in terms of MLS play this weekend, and then find a way to beat LAFC. And would it rectify anything? Obviously, losing a championship sucks.
Nope.
But no, I'm saying in terms of like if the Union are able to beat LAFC, go to the final, and then somehow, some way, break the curse of Philadelphia.
Oh, if they win the Champions League, yes.
Like, where does that weigh? In terms of MLS Cup versus this, in terms of like stature.
I think I am always of the opinion that winning like your like continental tournament is actually the biggest prize you can win. And I'm not saying that as a biased Liverpool fan, where like we've had a lot of success in the UEFA Champions League, but there is something like about like the fact that you didn't just dominate your like own domestic league, whatever it is, and like the fact that you were facing off against the best teams from your like entire continent, I think it's like a cool thing to be able to say. Like, and it also gets you into the FIFA Club World Cup, which you get to play against all the other champions from the other continents, including Europe and Asia. And I just think that is an experience that is really cool, like to be on that stage. Like, so yeah, I personally, like, I would always go towards winning like your continental Champions League, because I just think that's it's so much harder to do as well. It's such a bigger challenge because there's some luck involved in all of it. But yeah, I always give preference to that.
I think it would just be huge, obviously for the players, but also for like Jim Curtin in terms of just like,
yeah,
even more respect that he deserves as a head coach and everything.
Yes.
So we'll see what happens with the Union. But as we always do, we wrap it up with Survivor Talk. It's brought to you by Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. They're partnered with our guy Tyson Apostle, and you guys can be styling and profiling heading into these warmer months when you're outside, protecting your eyes from that harsh sun, protecting your eyes when you're watching Survivor with their Blue Light Plus glasses. It's a fraction of the price of the big eyewear companies, and it's even better quality than what those companies are dishing out. You guys can go to TomahawkShades.com, check out their full lineup of sunglasses, blue light glasses, prescription lenses, and everything in between. And when you go to checkout, use promo code USP for 25% off your order. That's promo code USP for 25% off at TomahawkShades.com. Matt, unfortunately, some somber Survivor news. We did lose a former castaway today. Keith, a legend, and apparently he was battling cancer, according to his son, who he did play Survivor with, Wes. So our condolences sent out to Keith's family. Just sucks, when you go and watch Survivor, whether you watched it season by season or you caught up and watched, on a binge run like you did yourself. Mm-hmm. You end up, getting a kinship and falling in love with some of these castaways and everything. And I think Keith is one of those guys that is iconic for the line, just stick to the plan.
Stick to the plan, or his what was it, his taxi, his little or when he described Wes, he said he's a good boy, he ain't been to jail yet. So yeah, it's and that's the sad thing about Survivor too is, as we move forward, we'll keep losing more and more people that you've kind of like formed these little relationships with, even though you obviously don't meet them or know them, but you kind of see them and get to know them through watching the show. And it sucks, because by all accounts too, just a great person, great to watch on the show, great character, underrated player too. Mm-hmm. Like, he wasn't like the most like strategic mind, but like he's one of those people that I think would have won simply because people liked him. Mm-hmm. Like he was just like, I don't know. It seemed like everyone always really liked being around him. He was a firefighter as well, I believe.
I think so.
So, someone that clearly like cared about the community and was very selfless. So it sucks. It sucks losing people like that.
Most recent episode though, season 44. Your namesake goes home.
Yeah, well, I just forgot my bag, so
my shot in the dark is in the bag,
which is so stupid that you really can't bring him his bag. Like, I got some issues, but I don't like
the power couple's broken up.
Power couple's broken up. I don't like that we're in the merge and we haven't had an actual merge vote yet.
Yeah.
I don't mind that like this is their new thing. Is like the first vote is like technically like you're merged, but not yet. Mm-hmm. Whatever. If you want to keep that, fine. But I don't like that our first time being merged, you do the tribe split thing. And I also didn't care that for half of everyone has immunity. Like, it just, like, and then
why do the merge then?
On top of that, they don't even get to, like, they get no say. Like, they just show up to the tribal and watch 5 other people. Like, I think Survivor, what has been an issue with Survivor in the last few seasons is, like, they've been really trying to manufacture drama and like these like big stakes moments rather than kind of like letting it happen organically. And I wish they would just put some faith in the fact that like they've casted very well the last few seasons. Like I actually think this is the best run of casts, like straight up new casts, like no returners whatsoever, that we've had in Survivor for a long time,
if not ever.
Yeah, like I really think that. I think these are some of the best strategic players, characters, just in terms of people that like these are fun people to watch on TV, like they're entertaining, good people, like all of it. We haven't had like a big villain in the last few years, right? But it also feels like villains aren't as common anymore. I don't know. Like I just don't know that those people are on our screens as much, but I just wish they would let the game breathe a little on its own. I like it just felt a little too manufactured. And I feel bad from that in the way that it just felt like this was completely out of his control. And it just feels, luck has always been a part of Survivor. It feels like luck has only increased in the last few seasons. Like so many things are out of your control completely. That was always the case in Survivor, that things are going to be out of your control, but it feels like there's no way to plan for this. Like how are you possibly supposed to imagine this scenario?
On top of, one of the players who's on the tribe portion of the merge that didn't have a vote, and it's like, oh, I get to control one of the votes.
Right. Also, why do they have to carry their shot in the dark? Why is that not just a
Right.
thing that they can just have at Tribe? Why does it have to be like an idol? You know,
Yeah.
where you have to have it on you.
That confused me
I
because the first year they did it, wasn't it just a thing that was up at the voting table?
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like, does that really have to be something that has to be like carried around in a bag? Also, like, no one has ever forgotten their bag. Like, that's never happened before. We can't just like, is it like, I don't know. It's kind of sucks seeing them go out like that because it's like, man, it's just, I don't know. You don't even get to like have the shot in the dark that maybe you're safe.
And then Jeff's just like, if this is the end, what have you learned about yourself?
Yeah, it's always tough when it gets to that moment in Tribal.
And it's like, oh, you just like put the writing on the wall.
And it's shaped up, the beginning of the episode was shaping up in the way that I thought it was going to, where it was going to be like a Danny episode and like a potentially, although I will say I liked what Brandon has done, and I think he's it seems like he's separated himself a little bit maybe from that. But yeah, it seemed like it was going to shape up to be this kind of like Matt had this awareness about Danny planning the fake idol, and we never really got to see that you come to fruition, which sucks.
Danny's still alive though.
Danny is still alive.
And Pennsylvania native Brandon, former NFL player, still alive, which is fun. Where do we go from here, though? That's the big question, I think. It's so, like, this season, I think, has been, like you said, like, it feels like it's shaping up to be one thing, and then by the end of the episode, it's completely different than what was anticipated.
I do think that the Danny thing might be revisited this episode, but it's hard. It's honestly just so hard to say. We play Fantasy Survivor, and as we were putting our votes in today, and my wife asked me, she's like, "Oh, who do you think is going?" I'm like, I have no clue, because last time that you asked me to do this, I picked the absolute wrong people. I said I'm pretty sure these two people were safe, and then they were gone. So I have no idea who to expect to go home next. I felt also bad for Heidi having to. Like, that's such a bad advantage, like, getting to control a vote, because, like, having to do it publicly, I feel like it should actually have to be, like, they go in there, and it's, like, how it used to be, where it's, like, you don't have a vote tonight, or whatever, like, you must vote for this person. Like, I wonder if that would actually play a little better. I don't know.
I agree. It was, like, awkward.
Yeah, because, like, there's no good person to put the votes on, no matter what, you're, like, making an enemy or two. I actually think, like, putting it on Jam Jam probably makes her even more enemies. Like, I think all the way around.
He's a menace.
Yeah. So
we'll see what happens with that. Make sure you guys follow at Buffs and Stuffs on Twitter, and follow us at Underground PHI on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI, Twitch.tv/Underground Sports PHI. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Leave a 5-star rating and review. It does go a long way for helping the show continue to grow. Helps more people find the show. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's where you get full video episodes of every podcast on our network, live streams, clips, you name it. It's on our YouTube channel. On that road to 1,000 subscribers. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, and comment down below your thoughts on everything we talked about on tonight's episode. And, of course, Underground Sports Philadelphia is presented by the City of Vineland. Whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's Economic Development Department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process. Their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always a growing season. And big thank you to Main Auto LLC, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland for their continued support of this show as well. And make sure you get your merch at phiapparel.co, code underground, 10% off any and all orders. This has been episode number 526 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. till next time, we're getting the heck up out of here. Go Sixers, go Phils, and shout out to the Eagles signing Olamide Zacchaeus.
Hey, you know what?
It's pretty good.
Yeah, fair enough.
Camden's own, graduate of the prep. Shout out to Zoe, new Eagle in town. But until next time, we're getting the heck up out of here, and we are signing off. Peace.